There's a spot in Revelation that I thought was interesting. When you think of the Federal Reserve, they basically are given sole control over the levers of the economy. People we don't vote in, people we don't even know.
Sounds unconstitutional.
And they present everything so complicated that you just think, these are the wise guys. I don't even want to think about it. Thank you for taking care of that for us.
Right.
And so we think that that these are very smart guys and they're doing what's best for us. But history shows that they're not doing what's best for us. They make presidents look good, or they can make them look bad by manipulating the levers of the economy. And there is an instance in the book of Revelation where God mentions prophetically where somebody has control over the economy here. And I'll read it real quick from Revelation. Christianity and freedom are under attack, and the established church is AWOL. They're too busy telling stories, being entertained, and lulling people to sleep with politically correct and perverted versions of the gospel. My friends, the stakes are too high. Something needs to be done. So we're calling on people everywhere to turn their man caves into Bible studies. If each street in America had at least one home where people could meet and study the Bible, we would see a restoration in America like has never been before. So for details and directions to our Man Cave Bible studies in Princeton, Minnesota, please call our automated line at 763-662-2682. So let's go into the Man Cave, sharpen our swords, and get ready for battle. I don't know. Have you guys been watching the news at all? Where Trump, I guess it was rumored that he was asking if he could fire the Fed chairman.
I didn't hear that, but I heard that Trump was blaming the Federal Reserve on them trying to sabotage his economy.
Yeah. I even lately here I heard he just tweeted about it. Yeah, Trump basically took. I think he knows there's something up with the Fed. I think he knows a lot more about it. I'll talk about it more in a little bit here, but he was really nice and just said, well, he basically was describing the Fed as a putter who doesn't know how to putt. And they get it wrong all the time. Very unskilled. They don't know what they're doing with the economy, and they're just, they mean well, but they're just flubbing everything up, and they always get it wrong. And Rush Limbaugh, actually, I was surprised because he's not really big into conspiracies and things like that. He used to rip on him a lot, but he actually was presenting the Federal Reserve as a group of conspirators that are working for the left to make leftist presidents like Obama look good when the economy is really bad, when the fundamentals of the economy are really bad.
Right.
And then when a conservative gets in, or Trump especially, then they start trying to sabotage the economy. So basically it affects political opinion. If they got the guys in they want, they try to make the economy look good by lowering interest rates and doing other things. They're creating a manufactured good economy that's not really there. But then when a good economy is happening, whether it's under Reagan or Trump, they start pulling all the levers to stop the economy.
Yeah.
And so in a sense, they're kind of like puppet masters. They want people to bow down and go with the status quo, or else they make them look bad and punish them by making the economy go bad.
Well, if it's true, that means they're all part of the deep state.
Absolutely, and I think that's what Rush Limbaugh is actually starting to see. But I'm going to read a scripture real quick. Well, first, before I read the scripture, I want to read this quote by Thomas Jefferson that has to do with the Federal Reserve. He says, "I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency," which the Federal Reserve is, by the way, first by inflation, then by deflation. The banks and corporations that will grow up around the banks will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on a continent their fathers conquered. That was Thomas Jefferson
Wow.
in 1802. So he was warning us against the Federal Reserve System.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
the Federal Reserve, they can cause inflation and deflation.
Yep.
Basically with being able to print more money, which they'll do at times to try to make more money fluid. They have all these technical reasons behind it.
Stimulate
All this economic jargon, but really when you track the history of them, and Rush Limbaugh did that, you can see the trend, what they do. They're manipulating the economy for political reasons and for taking America, trying to take America down and bring other nations up. So if they put more money into circulation, which they do, they'll just print more money. Well, the biggest thing about this, why the Federal Reserve is unbiblical, that you can document easily. There's many problems with it. But just for the one fact that you have $1 in your pocket, if they print more money, which they do, that dollar now becomes worth less.
Yeah, it's called quantitative easing.
Yeah, so what you're doing then, you earn that dollar, but now it's not the same, it doesn't have the same purchasing power as it used to. So by printing more money, they're actually stealing from the people who have that money.
Absolutely.
And
short term, it helps out, but long term, it decreases the value of the dollar.
Why is it called Federal Reserve?
well, they say that it is supposedly the president appoints the Federal Reserve chairman, but it's from a hand-selected group of people.
Right.
And isn't it independent? It's not.
Supposed to be.
I don't understand.
It can't be audited, but look, their whole big thing is, well,
Which,
it
that
has-
right there tells you that something's wrong.
They always say, well, it has to be independent of politics.
Right.
But then it can be,
But it's called Federal
Yeah.
Reserve. How, it should be independent.
right, it's a way to really deceive us into thinking it's just another branch of government.
Right.
But so you have foreign powers, international bankers, controlling our economy. We saw that. The economy actually, because the Fed is raising interest rates, the economy the stock market crashed really big. And I don't know what happened, but I don't know if Donald Trump was telling them, if you do this, I'm going to expose you. All of a sudden, the stock market just had its biggest gain ever after he tweeted about the Federal Reserve. It was kind of a warning shot over to them about them sucking in a nice way before he actually and we've had presidents that have criticized the Fed before that are now dead. The last one being Kennedy. He wanted to, I think he criticized the Fed and he wanted to end the Fed and have our government print our own money. And I think even go back to the gold standard.
Right.
If I remember right. But anyway, so a lot of people are worried after Trump put that tweet that, oh no, is he going to be the next?
Yeah, we definitely need to pray for him.
But there's so much power in that Federal Reserve, and that really is kind of in a sense, the heart of the beast, the heart of the New World Order.
And they're never to be audited, right? I mean,
Right.
That right
Can't
there tells me that that's just wrong in every
Right.
level.
Exactly.
But their excuse is, well, we can't let it become what's going to happen if political parties control the Fed? That's very dangerous. So now we have an independent private bank that controls it instead of the people. It's unaccountable to the people.
Yeah,
Which
guys
country?
like George Soros.
I don't think it's our country even that, the
No,
banking.
it's international.
Right.
It's globalist. So he says, "Thou shalt not have in thy bag divers weights, great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thine house divers measures, great and a small. But thou shalt have a perfect and a just weight. A perfect and a just measure shalt thou have, that thy days may be lengthened in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. For all that do such things," now check this out, "and all that do unrighteously are an abomination unto the Lord thy God."
It's a pretty strong word.
Yeah, this is exactly describing what the Federal Reserve does. So in commerce, on the most basic level, if you got a scale there and you're you're tipping the scale in your favor all the time. So let's say you have the scale, you'd have to adjust the scale. So let's say you adjusted the scale. It's supposed to weigh a talent of gold, but you got it set at 0.9. So you're skimming the top all the time.
You're manipulating the measurement.
Just like the gas prices.
Right. So
I
that's
want 3 gallons. Now where are my 3 pennies back? Because it's 19.9, all the, you know,
Oh,
or
okay.
whatever, you know.
9
yeah. But
Never mind.
But yeah.
It's just a,
But the Federal Reserve does this on a grand scale, and so they're falsifying the balances by deceit. So when they print out more money, now they just took the weight of your dollar,
Right.
and they minimize it. And if you look at, ever since they were created I was looking up the stats on this, in 1913, inflation has gone up consistently. So I think $1 now has, I don't know if it was $1 back in 1913, I think, is equivalent to $22 now. In other words, it takes $22 today to buy $1 worth of stuff back then.
Yeah.
And people just accept that as, oh, it's normal. Inflation
Right.
is just no, it's not. It can fluctuate a little bit here and there naturally.
right.
But 1 ounce of gold will move in price value a little bit, but it's always going to basically stay in there. So there's going to be a fluctuation. Now the Federal Reserve promises, oh, well, we're always going to fix, make sure the fluctuations aren't too great, there's nothing too painful. But over time, when you look at what they've done, they've stolen all money and property from the people. So it's really hurt the working people and the poor people more than anybody else. And so, I mean, God says that this is an abomination. And so that's the Federal Reserve. If you were to look at it, the picture of it we could put a picture for the Federal Reserve being an unjust balance of scales or diverse measures, because that's all it does.
Am I right or wrong? Don't they set the interest rates also?
Yep, and they say that's supposed to curb inflation. So they not only create inflation by putting money in, so when you're fluctuating the money like that, somebody's always getting burnt.
Right.
But in the long term, it's always been inflation. Even though they say when they're raising interest rates, they're curbing inflation. Since their existence, there's always been inflation.
Well, yeah, you look at back before Reagan, I think, like interest rates on mortgages were like 12% in the 80s or early 80s. I don't remember exactly, I was pretty young, but I mean, just that alone, that we've had interest rates that were at 12%, and now you're down to, 3%, or it was over Obama's time, and it just, the more I think about it, we were talking about it earlier, and I was like, well, yeah, that's good. They can, if the economy's getting too aggressive, you slow it down a little bit.
Because that's what they tell us.
That's what,
you hear all the time.
I buy their story.
Yeah.
But then you were suggesting that, well, no, just like taxes, you have a percentage, you pay 10% in taxes, according to the Bible, or whatever. Same thing with interest rates. They don't have to fluctuate.
Right.
They can just be 3%, and that's what you live off of.
Well, the fixed standard, I think you mentioned it earlier. I don't know if it was off the recording here or not, but we used to be on the gold standard, where dollars were valued according to the value of gold. So it was fixed. You couldn't just print more money, and there had to be gold to back it up.
Right.
But now there's no gold to back it up. It's totally paper, and it can be worth whatever the Federal Reserve says it is.
It can be worth less.
Yeah, they can make it worth more, they can make it worth less, and they can do so based off of ulterior motives, or let's just say they were completely foolish, and they were just idiots just moving it the wrong way, like Donald Trump suggested, even though I don't think he believes that. He's got a tactic there.
The
But
first
it's
time
still
I
unbiblical.
saw, like the extreme inflation
Yeah,
was when I was a younger person driving around and gas was around 20 cents a gallon, and one day I woke up and it was 50 cents a gallon. I said, what happened? What just happened?
yeah.
I don't even want to drive anymore. We used to be able to pull up to the gas station, give me 50 cents worth of regular. Well, you can't do that anymore. I mean, that seems like where it started. because I was an eyewitness to it. I mean,
Yeah.
and then everything, bread used to be 19 cents. Then everything else just followed in suit with gas. I don't know why it was gas, but that seemed to be the start.
Incrementally.
Yeah, the gas, that would be another manipulating, you got OPEC that manipulates.
Well, and a lot
Because,
of rich people.
Yeah, and that is definitely connected, I'm sure, with the Federal Reserve and as well.
But that was the first thing I saw went crazy.
Yeah, with the inflation, right? There's a spot in Revelation that I thought was interesting. When you think of the Federal Reserve, they basically are given sole control over the levers of the economy. People we don't vote in, people we don't even know.
Sounds unconstitutional.
And they present everything so complicated that you just think, these are the wise guys. I don't even want to think about it. Thank you for taking care of that for us.
Right.
And so we think that that these are very smart guys and they're doing what's best for us. But history shows that they're not doing what's best for us. They make presidents look good, or they can make them look bad by manipulating the levers of the economy. And there is an instance in the book of Revelation where God mentions prophetically where somebody has control over the economy here. And I'll read it real quick from Revelation chapter 6, verse 5. I'm just reading from a blog post I printed out here from one I wrote about 4 years ago, called The Modern Day Money Changers, the Federal Reserve. That's another thing we can get into a little bit. Remember when Jesus went into the temple? Well, the Federal Reserve is often referred to people as the temple because of the masters in there and so forth. But anyway, it says that when he had opened the third seal, Revelation 6:5, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny." And the penny is actually, we think of a penny today as, I can't remember what the equivalent was, but we think of a penny here as being, that's a measure of wheat for a penny, that's a good deal. But this was actually the other way around. It was very little wheat for a high price. So the cost of living, if you would, increased because of this rider on the black horse who had the balances in his hand. I take this as meaning that this black horse is in control of the economy. He can change the weights and balances of the value of the dollar as well as other.
Black, just like oil. Black.
In this translation, it says
It goes back to what I was saying earlier about gas. Never mind.
2 pounds of wheat for a day's wage is what they're saying.
Oh yeah, so you work all day for just that.
Or 6 pounds of barley for a day's wage.
Yes, that's. But black also is a symbol of famine, and so of destitute times, So, and the Federal Reserve has that power. They when you look at it historically, many people believe they caused the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Many recessions. I mean, if you think about it, these recessions and all these great troublous financial times, they should only happen if there was a literal famine.
Right.
Like weather, like no rain, or you didn't have food. But we have down times in our economy that just all of a sudden come out of the blue, and it's
The Great Depression.
somehow we just think it's just all these different levers just happen to go the wrong way for
Except
us.
the Great Depression did have a bit of a famine and
It did,
dry spell.
Yeah, there was the Dust Bowl years, that's true. So there was a
Farming
correlation
wasn't
there.
going so good. But
Yeah.
either way, I totally agree. That's not good.
Yeah, so it goes back to what Thomas Jefferson said. He said, if you give banks this power, he said they're more dangerous than any standing armies, because we will live here, we'll have our, even if we had our borders, but we'd be...
Well, look what they did for the auto industry, the banks.
Yeah,
How many billions of dollars were
Yeah, they keep them falsely
given away?
afloat.
yeah. And that's taking from somebody.
Too big to fail is
Yeah.
what they say.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean, it's all deceit. It's all, and God says that these balances are an abomination. I'm thinking of a couple other places. There's Leviticus 19 verse 35. Just other verses that I think apply to the Federal Reserve System. Leviticus 19:35 says, "You shall do no unrighteousness in judgment, in meat yard." I think we actually read this last week. In meat yard, in weight, or in measure, just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin shall you have. I am the Lord your God, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe all my statutes and all my judgments and do them. I am the Lord. So, I mean, God is really big on just balances.
Yeah.
There's, inflation.
Not manipulating falsely.
Yeah. So that's this rider on the black horse. What is he able to do? He's got a pair of balances, and they're balances of deceit.
He can manipulate.
Unjust manipulation.
Which ultimately, if you can tear down great economies, you can bring on globalism even quicker.
Right.
Because now you need help from the UN or from the other countries, and then once you get help from them, now you're all together, and you have to go with what they say, and it's just a
Seems like we're the helper, though. We're Big Brother. We help everyone else.
Yeah.
No one helps us. I don't understand that.
right, but
Yeah.
that can change in a hurry, especially if they keep.
Well, we're going to run
manipulating.
out of everything because that's what we do. We give to everybody. I mean, giving is not a bad thing. I don't mean that, but I mean,
Right.
to give to evil is ridiculous.
Right. And to just give a never-ending helping hand to those
Yeah, like Iran.
who should be helping themselves.
Right.
Because it's never going to be appreciated
Like giving billions of dollars to Iran.
if they don't fight for it themselves. I mean, yeah, a helping hand's one thing, but to be there continually, and it's
Every country we've ever destroyed, we've rebuilt.
yeah.
Even the
Oh.
small little.
It's a little bit off topic, but the left says, oh, we want to give, $10 billion to Mexico and South America to help those struggling countries in Honduras.
Yeah.
But we can't afford $5 billion to set up a wall to protect our borders.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
ridiculous,
It is.
just infuriating. I don't know, now I'm angry.
What for?
Just the Federal Reserve and what's
Yeah.
going on.
Well,
I mean, I've always known that whole manipulating thing and the quantitative easing, which Obama was doing a lot of, and they got off the gold standard. And people say we just need to eliminate the Federal Reserve, and I've always thought, well, you can't do that
yeah.
because who's gonna control anything? How would they? And now I'm seeing how it's ultimately probably going to become one of the number one tools for Satan to manipulate the economy to turn us into a one world government,
Yeah.
one world order.
Yeah, I mean, it's
That's what Soros does.
Yeah.
He manipulates currencies in these small countries to change their whole system. I don't know why. He likes, he makes money obviously,
yeah.
but he seems like he's out to destroy economies and countries. I don't know why he's even still alive or why anyone would like the Clintons, they're best friends and
Oh,
It's chilly out there too.
oh, is it really?
Feels like it. Maybe it's just the snow covering the ground. I don't know.
Yeah,
Never mind.
it's a big con game. It goes a lot deeper than we could even possibly get into today. I have a book here titled "The Secrets of the Federal Reserve," and it gives a lot of the history of it and what people have said about it. We've been warned about it by many politicians. Henry Ford, the inventor of the airplane guy.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah. We've been warned over and over again, and it's, Proverbs 11, verse 1 says another place about balances here. God says or Proverbs says, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. So there's another place. There's Proverbs 20.
The exact opposite of what the Federal Reserve is about.
Yeah, anything that takes the value of the dollar down or even up.
Yeah,
It's like I read earlier by Thomas Jefferson. First by inflation, then by deflation, is manipulation. Somebody's getting hurt somewhere, whether you're going up or down with it. Proverbs 20 verse 23. Diverse weights are an abomination unto the Lord, and a false balance is not good. So I mean, he calls this an abomination. So I mean, really, when you look at what the Federal Reserve is, it's
an
one
abomination.
great abomination, yeah, to God, because it's nothing but false balances of deceit.
well, again, I guess that's another reason why I'm grateful for Donald Trump being our president right now, because if anybody can possibly make a difference in there, or appoint somebody that could possibly be fair, he's the guy to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. It is very interesting that I was wondering when this day would come that Donald Trump would square up against the Federal Reserve, because I figured right when he became president, I think they were talking about raising interest rates, and I think he did have some warning to them saying that would be dumb, don't do that.
Yeah, I remember him talking about it early on, that he was against them raising interest rates.
Right. And I figured if Donald Trump was really working for us against the globalists, that eventually they would try to crash the economy. And it appears as though that's exactly what they're trying to do. Now they've already sending out rumors that the economy's bad, the crash is coming. And what that does is it plants seeds. When they spread those rumors, it then creates doubt and
Fear.
Yeah, fear. And that's another way to manipulate the economy.
People start to get their money out of the stock market.
Right. So it's it's definitely interesting that he's going head to head now with the Fed, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we definitely gotta keep track of that then. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see how this unfolds. You guys got anything you want to add about it?
Well, it even starts in verse 10 in Proverbs.
Proverbs 20.
Yeah, it starts even in verse 10. It goes right into
Oh yeah.
diverse weights and diverse measures. Both of them are an abomination to the Lord.
All right. Yeah, I missed that.
Even a child is known by his doings.
Right, and it's
And the hearing ear and the seeing eye. I mean, he's saying, look out.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. When you read about money in the Bible, what do you read about? A piece of paper
No, coin.
that says a Federal Reserve note.
Oh, right.
No.
It's always referred to as a talent, a weight of some kind of precious metal.
Yeah.
Now, we could use paper or electronics, that would be fine if it's used just as a medium of exchange, if it was backed up by a literal gold coin or whatever in an actual bank.
So now it's kindling.
Yeah, now it's just created money out of thin air.
Yeah, paper.
Yep. And the money masters determine, the money changers, if you would even, determine how much that money is worth.
As if Trump didn't have enough on his plate. It'll be interesting to see how he handles it. Because
Yeah.
they definitely want to raise interest rates, and they definitely want to slow the economy down.
Right? And this is always done, Satan, even when the Antichrist gets here, when he comes in, he's coming in to save everything.
Yeah.
To fix the broken system.
To bring the peace.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what the Federal Reserve was. They create the problems and then they present themselves as the savior. Oh, like we were talking about earlier. Oh no, we've got to make sure the economy doesn't get too hot and all these things. We got to control it like a fine, machine.
Yeah, right.
Make sure everything's, and it's just all bogus. It's just bull crap. They make all these lies so that they can use it as a tool to manipulate economies around the world as well as ours, thus stealing from the working man and making a living, always making it hard to make a living.
What I don't know is, does the president have the ability to fire that the head person of the Federal Reserve, or who can do that?
Yeah, that's. I was reading a little bit on that discussion. There doesn't seem to be an answer to that. but there seems to be a lot of threats made. Well, if he does this, if he tries to fire him, the economies around the world will feel uncertainty and they will all collapse.
Of
So
course
it's always
they will,
fear.
yeah.
You don't touch us or we'll crash the whole world, and that's the...
Last one I remember, like Ben Bernanke was the Federal Reserve
And
chairman.
Alan Greenspan.
Greenspan
Yeah.
before that. I don't know who is currently right now. Is it still Bernanke?
No, it's a different guy. I can't remember his name. Trump actually did
Who
appoint.
appointed?
Trump
Oh.
actually appointed, but
Oh, really? Okay.
he was
I didn't know that.
appointed at the. These are all insiders that are appointed, and then they, no matter who they are, there's a whole board.
Right.
A board of directors, and yeah, if you really want to learn a lot about it, there's like the secrets of the Federal Reserve. There's the creature on Jekyll Island is another one. Anyways, I mean that the Federal Reserve really is at the command center of the New World Order.
The globalist.
Yeah, the globalists.
And who came up with the idea?
Yeah, international. Well, there's actually names such as the Rothschilds
Okay.
and so forth that actually
That's where you get all those guys.
They own this Federal Reserve Bank.
Okay,
And
that
as you
makes
know-
a lot more sense now.
Yeah, I think the two biggest holders of America's debt, our national debt, it's China and the Federal Reserve. And I can't remember which one's greater, if it was the Federal Reserve or China. I mean, right there, you got this, the Federal Reserve without it's a part of our government. How can our government be in debt to the government?
Right.
People don't even think about it. No, they're in debt to private bankers who are
Mhm.
making money off of not even having any investment in it. That is miraculous if you were an evil person, that you can make money without even any of your own money.
Yeah. It seems to go against everything the Bible and God has to say about economies and fairness. And
Well, yeah, even when God talked about, Jesus talked about the parable of the talents. Those talents were symbolic of gifts and talents that individuals have. Even the word is transferable.
Right.
But the talent that he was using in that parable was a coin that had weight. I mean, that is how a just economy would run, is backed by some precious metal, backed by a real good. And more, the only biblical example I can think of is if it was gold or silver
right.
coins.
Makes sense.
And it's always been that way. When you read throughout the Bible, you always hear of gold or silver
Right.
as being precious, and well, stones too. Precious stones like rubies and sapphires and things like that. But I don't ever remember them being used as an exchange of
Currency.
Yeah.
Right, he wasn't tipping over tables of paper.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's interesting that I truly believe that the money changers that Jesus went into when he tipped their tables over, I truly believe they were doing the same similar schemes where they were probably creating money and probably doing,
Cheating people.
yeah, manipulating the economy from the temple.
Christian Overcomers is brought to you by the tithes and offerings of our listeners. If you would like to support our ministry, please go to ChristianOvercomers.com. God bless you, and thank you for your support.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible sword. His truth is marching on.